Do you want to start gardening but are unaware of what to expect? Are you looking forward to seeing your garden flourish? Being a beginner in gardening can be a fun and rewarding experience. However, as with any other venture, careful planning and preparation are required. If you're a beginner, you should not be seduced by the beautiful gardening pictures on gardening magazines and blogs, but rather know what you should and should not do to increase your chances of success. Despite this, novice gardeners make mistakes that hinder their success. In this video, we look at some mistakes beginners make in their gardening journey and how to avoid them. Before I continue, be sure to tap that like button as it helps the channel out, and don't forget to subscribe. Okay, let's get to it. Starting out too big. One of the most common mistakes beginners make is starting out too big. Experienced gardeners understand that a large garden requires a large commitment, which most beginning gardeners cannot handle. Starting out too big could mean starting with a large garden and growing plants that require more attention. It could also be a burden financially to maintain a large garden. Depending on your lifestyle and the reason for starting, it makes sense to start small, because small gardens are easy to maintain. If you don't have the luxury of a backyard, you can start small on your patio with container-friendly plants. Kitchen herbs do well here. They can even thrive in containers. Herbs such as basil, rosemary, and mint are great options for containers. You should choose plants that take care of themselves, so that even if you're busy, your plants will still survive. If you want to grow vegetables, start with a small vegetable patch. You can also grow vegetables in containers if you have limited space. Determinate tomatoes and peppers are great to grow in containers. Seeing your plants grow each year will give you a sense of accomplishment, and you can build on that momentum to increase your plants in succeeding years. Planting too soon or too late. If you're wondering what is the ideal time of year to plant, you need to know your growing zone. Not knowing your growing zone could lead to planting at the wrong time. Click the link in the description to find out what growing zone you're in. Plants grown in colder temperatures depict signs of stress such as wilting, surface pitting, foliage necrosis, and increased disease susceptibility. Low soil temperatures can impede root formation, leading to stunted plant growth. Most summer crops like soil temperatures of 55 to 65 degrees. Just like planting too early, planting too late also has adverse effects on the overall look of your garden. A late planting date, on the other hand, results in higher non-structural carbohydrate content in stems at mid-grain filling stages because the crop is exposed to low temperature, which limits kernel expansion and photosynthesis. So, when is the best time to plant? Planting is best done during the dormant season, which in North America is typically late fall to early spring. Planting during the remainder of the year is okay, but it will demand more attention from you in the form of maintenance. You can always start planting earlier if started indoors. Planting bulbs upside down. Don't panic if you accidentally planted the bulbs upside down. Keep in mind that if you plant bulbs upside down, they won't grow downward. Bulbs can tell which direction is up and will turn around on their own. Bulbs planted upside down will still grow, but the plant will be overly stressed and may ultimately die if left that way. After the bulb has done flowering, dig it up to examine which side the leaves have emerged from, which is usually the top of the bulb. Place the sprouting side up to give the bulb the least stressful path to growth. This permits the shoot to push directly to the surface, allowing the bulb to immediately get the sunlight it requires to thrive. As a beginner gardener, it's important to know how to plant a bulb. Always remember that when planting bulbs, make sure the pointed growth tip is facing up. If you're not sure which side is up, try planting bulbs on their side. Tuberous plants are flatter than bulbs and lack a distinct growth point. Getting rid of all bugs. When starting your gardening journey, know that bugs will always be in your garden and are not indicative of inadequate plant care. Insects are drawn to plants as humans are. Some of these bugs are necessary for vital functions like pollination, nutrient recycling, food chain maintenance, and forest management. For example, forests rely heavily on pollinators and seed spreaders. Garden bugs like bees, wasps, flies, beetles, and butterflies drink nectar and pollen from flowers, which they deposit in new blossoms. Some insects, on the other hand, don't merely eat seeds and honey. They also eat leaves, which helps to manage the soil's available minerals and energy sources. Insects break down organic matter and give it to the soil as broken down nutrients, which are far more accessible to soil microbes and simpler for plants to utilize for growth. This is how important bugs are to your garden. You cannot get rid of all bugs. However, you can control the nutrients using natural methods, not pesticides. Adopting natural bug control measures will make your garden bug-friendly. Not properly preparing the soil. You can do soil testing to determine the type of soil you have. Knowing your soil nutrient content and requirements is imperative if you want to flourish as a beginner, because good soil is essential for any garden to thrive. Soil preparation must be done before planting, not after the seeds have already sprouted. Distributing the soil around or during the planting process can disrupt the fragile root system. So when is the right time to prepare your soil? Well, early spring is the best time to prepare the soil. Spring is also the best time to add commercial compost to your garden. This allows you to work on the soil and let it rest until the weather is warm enough to plant. It is necessary to consider the nutritional requirements of your soil so you can determine whether or not you require additional nutrients for your soil. During the growing season, you should apply compost to your garden every 2 weeks, and once a month during the winter. If you're adding it to an existing garden bed, you can apply a 2 to 3 layer in the fall to help keep your weeds at bay. This is how you test your garden soil at home. In a basin, combine 2 teaspoons of soil and 1/2 cup of vinegar. You have alkaline soil if the mixture fizzes. Fill a basin with distilled water and 2 teaspoons of soil. Add 1/2 cup of baking soda. If the mixture fizzes, the soil is acidic. The soil has a neutral pH if it does not react to either test. Incorrect light requirements. As a beginner, know that one of the most crucial aspects of cultivating plants is light. Photosynthesis, the process in which a plant turns light, oxygen, and water into carbohydrates, is required by all plants. This energy is required for plants to grow, blossom, and generate seeds. Keep in mind that plant requirements for sunshine differ. Certain plants require more sunlight than others. Carefully read plant tags or seed packets to get an idea of how much sun your plant needs. This is how incorrect light requirements affect plants. Plants cultivated in low light are typically spindly and have pale green leaves. Similar plants cultivated in bright light have shorter, stronger branches and larger, dark green leaves. Knowing your plant's light requirements might assist you in designing a successful garden. Don't hide your garden. Plant your garden near the back patio, outside the kitchen window, or along a walkway you frequently use. In that way, you'll be able to manage your garden better. When choosing a location for your garden, be sure it gets adequate sunlight. Fertilizing too much or too little. It is recommended that gardeners test their soil every 2 years. This is especially important for beginners with no prior experience in gardening. Soil tests reveal what nutrients are in the soil and suggest how much of each nutrient to apply. Gardening success also depends on knowing your plant's fertilizer requirements. The nutrients found in fertilizers such as potassium, phosphorus, and nitrogen are essential in crops. They promote faster plant growth as well as more food production. Nitrogen in particular is an essential plant nutrient, but on the other hand, an excessive amount of fertilizer can alter the soil by increasing the salt content, which can harm beneficial soil bacteria. Over-fertilization can lead to accelerated plant growth, resulting in a root system that cannot provide the plant with enough water and nutrients. How much fertilizer is okay? Spread organic fertilizer into the soil and dispense it evenly throughout your garden. You should use 20 to 30 pounds of manure for every 100 square feet of garden. Don't go overboard. You shouldn't use fresh manure because it can deter plant growth. You should use 2 to 3 pounds of fertilizer per 100 square feet of garden area, such as 10-20-10. Watering too much or too little. Water is one of the most important ingredients for plants. Plants require varying quantities of water, depending on their kind. Plant health is also affected by the amount of water given to them. The plant will droop if there isn't enough water in the cells, thus water helps it stay straight. The water in the plant transports dissolved sugar and other nutrients. As a result, without the necessary water balance, the plant is not only starved, but also physically weak and incapable of supporting its weight. Many beginner gardeners have issues with overwatering. Too much water in the soil causes root rot. Mold can grow on a plant's leaves if there is water left on the leaves. When the soil surrounding the base of your plants is overly wet, the roots will struggle to absorb the oxygen they require to survive. In the case of container gardens, if you notice drainage is restricted, carve out bigger holes in pots to promote drainage. On the other hand, if there isn't enough water, plants won't be able to absorb the nutrients they need. Roots may deteriorate and become brittle due to a lack of water. A plant will eventually be unable to recuperate. How do you keep track of the right amount of watering? The most basic answer is to understand your plant's climate, soil, and terrain needs. All of these variables have an impact on how much water your plants need. Planting too deep or too shallow. Planting too deep or too shallow is a common mistake made by new gardeners. Reading plant tags or seed packs to know how deep to plant is one approach to avoid this mistake. Planting too deeply can result in poor germination due to a lack of soil moisture at the surface or seed damage from insects or disease. If a seed is put too deep, it may have delayed germination due to lower soil temperatures, poor germination, or seed harm. Deep planting, on the other hand, causes bark deterioration near the soil line, potentially resulting in the plant's death. After a few seasons of this, a tree or shrub will usually die. It's possible to avoid planting too deep or too shallow. In general, seeds should be sown at a depth equal to their width or diameter. For example, a seed that is about 1/16 inch thick should be planted around 1/8 inch deep. Letting weeds take over. By definition, a weed is any plant that grows where it's not needed. Weeds should be avoided because they are harmful to your garden. Weeds deplete your plant's water and nutrients and stifle crop growth by directly competing for resources such as light, space, soil moisture, and/or nutrients. Do not let weeds take over. Dandelions, lamb quarters, bindweed, and pigweed are all common garden weeds. Other weed types such as lamb's quarters produce a large number of seeds, so if allowed to set seeds in your garden, you may have to dig them out for years. Handpicking is one method of weed control. As soon as you notice weeds, pull them out. Never allow weeds to seed, and never leave bare soil in the garden since this invites weeds. You can also grow in containers or raised beds. Mulching is also an effective and natural technique to keep weeds out of your garden. Apply a 2-inch thick layer of organic mulch to the garden area, avoiding the roots of particular plants and bushes. Mulch not only helps the soil retain moisture, but also smothers weed seeds that have been tilled out and provides a hostile habitat for them. Non-organic mulches, such as landscape fabric and plastic, remain much longer than organic mulches, such as pine needles, cedar, and leaves, but they do not degrade to maintain a healthy soil environment. Over-mulching. Mulching is the process of layering material over the soil between plants. In the summer, it keeps the roots and bulbs cold, and it keeps them warm in the winter. Applying too much mulch is known as over-mulching. Mulching, when done correctly, has many benefits. It helps to keep water from evaporating. As a result, less watering is required. It shields the soil from wind, rain, and sunlight while also suppressing weed growth. In the summer, it keeps roots and bulbs cool, and it keeps them warm in the winter. Overmulching can cause problems in your garden. It can cause oxygen deficiency, leading to suffocation of the roots. Although mulching reduces soil water loss via evaporation, repeated applications of mulch might contribute to waterlogged soil, leading to root rot if the garden is watered frequently. If watering is infrequent, mulch that is too thick prevents the water from reaching the soil. How can you avoid overmulching as a beginner? Mulch should be 2 to 4 inches thick when distributed. Weeds can get through if your mulch is too thin. After mulching, water the area to help the mulch settle in. Forgetting to harvest. It's difficult to tell when your plants are ready to harvest when you're a new gardener. It might also be difficult to know when to pick colorful vegetables. Any plant's primary purpose is to grow and reach the reproductive stage. This is necessary for the plant to produce a second generation. This is the pinnacle of its achievement. In general, the plant uses its available energy to grow and mature at the start of its development. When a plant produces fruit or vegetable, it uses all of its available energy to help that fruit or vegetable grow. What are the consequences of failing to harvest or pick produce from your plants? Leaving produce on your plant will cause it to slow down or cease production. To enhance your harvest potential, it is critical to harvest frequently. As a beginner, it is advisable to harvest as and when the need arises. You want to give your plants the right signals, which means continuing to grow and expanding the amount of produce available for picking. This means that every gardener should be ready to go out every day and choose ready to harvest produce. planting too closely and not thinning. It's tempting as a beginning gardener to want to grow as many plants as possible in order to maximize your produce. Sometimes this leads to overcrowding. In gardening, thinning seedlings simply means removing some of those that were planted too close together, leaving just the best and strongest to thrive. It's a technique for ensuring proper plant spacing in the garden, especially for plants that were sown too close together. Overcrowding causes plants to compete for the same quantity of sunlight, water, and nutrients in the soil. The first symptom of overcrowding in the garden is light competition. Overcrowded plants begin to grow upward to receive light, rather than growing fuller and more robust. Furthermore, if there isn't adequate air circulation between plants, any infections that arise will spread more quickly. Read seed packets carefully, use threads to maintain rows straight, and space plants apart with a yardstick to avoid overcrowding. Not knowing your growing zone. Seasons are crucial in planting and caring for your garden, but did you know that where you live counts as well? Here's why garden growing zones matter, and how to determine which is the best for you. While growing outside your zone is doable, you risk your plant succumbing to the harsh winter temperatures. Planting a cold, hardy perennial in the area with unusually warm winters may result in the plant not flowering or growing as vigorously as it would in its ideal climate. For gardening success, only plant perennials that are suited to your zone. To find out what zone your area belongs to, look it up on the USDA Plant Hardiness Zone Map or click the Growing Zone link in the description below. In addition to the primary 13 zones, each zone has 2 subzones that can help you pinpoint your growing zone to the nearest 5 degrees. It's crucial to keep in mind, though, that zones aren't always accurate. For example, if you live in a microclimate, your temperatures and growing conditions will differ from those in the surrounding area. Wrapping up, there are a few issues that gardeners experience at some point in their lives. Beginners don't always get it right the first time, and some of these issues are beyond control. So a gardener has to deal with them as they arise. Although gardening can be a fun hobby, gardeners are prone to make mistakes that are a threat to successful gardening. Beginner gardeners make these mistakes out of ignorance. Gardening needs careful planning and preparation. New gardeners should know that not every plant will thrive, and that many plants will die or underperform at any moment. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to pat the like button and subscribe. Also, let us know in the comments down below if there are topics you want us to cover, and always remember that life is better when you garden.